My name is Jami Albright. I write romantic comedy. And we're going to talk about launching books today. I have 4 books in my Brides on the Run series. The first book came out Running from a Rock Star came out in April of 2017. Running with the Sweet Talker came out in November of 2017. Then Running from the Law came out in November of 2018. And Running After a Heartbreaker came out this past July. So when I started writing, I didn't really start writing until I was 50. I was a little before 50 when I started putting words on the page. But then I was like, I don't know if I know what I'm doing, and I knew I didn't know what I was doing, so I kind of piddled around. And then I turned 50, and I had lost my book, the Rockstar book. My computer crashed, and I had lost it. And we were having dinner for my birthday, and I was telling my family, the only thing I really regret is not finishing that book. That's really, in 50 years, I think that's my biggest, probably, regret. And a few weeks later, my daughter came in and said, "Mom, I think your book is on this flash drive I just found in my car." I have no idea how it got in the car. And it was 20,000 words of the 30,000 that I had written. So I was like, well, this is a sign. So I joined Romance Writers of America, and for about 5 months I just talked about writing because, we like to talk about writing as writers. And then they had a critique group, and I thought, well, it's now or never. And so I jumped into the critique group, and they kicked my butt for a good 6 months. And it could have been brutal, except for the fact that I knew I didn't know what I was doing. So I was pretty teachable. And 6 months after I joined the critique group, I won my first RWA writer contest with that book. With the first part of that book. So when I won that, they wanted the book. They wanted to read the book. And this publisher, small publisher, wanted to read the book. And I was like, funny thing, I'm not really done with it. What I really said was, well, I really need to work on it just a little bit more, tighten it up some. The fact was, I only had half the book written. But I'm really grateful for me that it wasn't done, because I would have given that publisher my book and made no money. And as an indie publisher, I make as much as my husband now. We haven't replaced his income, but I make as much as he does at a job that he is very well paid for. And it's been awesome. But I would have never seen any of that if I had gone with a publisher. For me, in romance, it's just not happening. They're just not giving advances. They're not doing the thing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So what happened was I started writing. I was with my critique partners. I wrote a book with my critique partner in between starting Rockstar and then publishing Rockstar. And it was a inspirational romance. I wrote it. I published it under Jamie Crumpton, which is my actual name. And we put it up. We decided to indie publish it. She was traditionally published, but it was a little 99-cent novella, and we were like, if I'm going to make $4.50 on this book, I want my $4.50. So we decided just to indie publish it, or self-publish. People use the same word. So we put it up, and I was like, okay, who's going to buy my book? And of course, nobody did except for our friends and family, because nobody knew the book was out. And I was telling a friend, right after it came out, I said, how do you get people to notice your books? Like, it is a drop in this ocean of books. And how in the world? And she said, well, you should listen to this podcast. And so I started listening. It was the Sell More Books Show podcast. And I promise I'm going to talk about launching in a minute, but I think it's important that we get this part out. So I started listening to that Sell More Books Show podcast. And they talk about, it's a news podcast, really. It's not a publishing podcast. But they were talking about the SPP guys. They kept talking about the SPP guys. And I was like, who are they? And they were the self-publishing podcast. That podcast is no longer recording episodes, but you can still find them. But so I flipped over to them. Well, these guys were doing crazy things. Like in 2006, this was December of 2016. 2015. They were writing a book from conception to publication in a month. And they were doing it all like with Periscope, and they were just doing crazy things that a lot of people are doing now. But at the time, they were the only ones doing it. So they started talking about a conference they were going to have, the Smarter Artist Summit, which was in Austin. And I'm like, Austin? I'm just in Houston. I am so clumsy. I am just in Houston. I can go to that. So I tell my husband, and he's like, and it was $500, but I can drive over there and I can stay with a friend. And he said, well, it sounds good, but how are you going to pay for it? And I was like, oh yeah. Well, probably should wait till I get the book out. And it was right before Christmas, and so I just sort of let it go. Well, then we came back from Christmas, and I had an email because I'd signed up for their email list, and it had the speakers for the Smarter Artist Summit. And there was a speaker named Julia Kent, and Julia writes romantic comedy. I write romantic comedy. I'd never read Julia before, but it was my sign from God that I was supposed to go to this conference. So I had gotten a mileage check that I forgot about, or forgot I was getting, and I returned all my Christmas presents, and I paid my $500 for that conference. Best $500 I've ever spent in my whole life. Because what happened was, I met Julia, and she was so smart and gave me such great information. I met other people doing the same thing I wanted to do, which was just not write, but make a living with my writing. At some point, make a living with my writing. And so and they weren't even necessarily romance writers. I mean, one of my really best good friends, he writes like urban fantasy, and his name's Jami too. And but I met him there, and so we've sort of grown up in this business together. But one of the things Julia said was she would wait until I had 3 books to publish. Well, Rockstar was done. I really just had to hire an editor, and it was done. And I had planned to put it out the summer after that happened. That was in April of 2016. And so I had planned to put it out, but after listening to them, her and then one of the guys that ran it, they really encouraged me to hang on to it, try to get another couple written. I didn't, but I got 2. I got 1.5, and then but they also said, you need to learn this business. You need to learn this business. So that's what I did. For 1 whole year, I sat on that book, and I wrote the other book, and I learned indie publishing. But one of the things I learned was about launching books. And so there's a big, again, because it's like that drop in this ocean of books, there are things that we can do to make our books more visible. But there are a couple of things before we start that I think we need to talk about. And one of them is Kindle Select or Kindle Unlimited versus which is exclusive to Amazon, or going wide, which is on all the platforms, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, iBooks, Google Play if you can get your book on there. And so that's one of the big debates right now, but it's also a big decision you have to make as a writer. If you're going to indie publish, if you're going with a traditional publisher, then you are going to, they're going to put your books wide. They're going to put your books everywhere, which is great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're going to self-publish your books, then I would highly recommend, if you have no platform, no audience, no nothing, Kindle Unlimited for a period of time. These are the benefits as I see Kindle Unlimited. I am in Kindle Unlimited, so I am biased. I will tell you that right now. I will tell you. So in Kindle Unlimited, so if you have a Kindle and you have a subscription with Amazon, for the monthly subscription of Kindle Unlimited, you pay $10 a month, and I think you get 10 books. They say unlimited, but I think you get 10 books a month. And so for the authors, though, that's called KDP Select, Kindle Select. And so it's the same program. They just use those words differently. And so the benefit of that is that you get great exposure, because if Amazon's got 2 books and one's in Kindle, I'm going to call it KDP, is in KDP, and the other one is wide, they're going to show that KDP book before they show the wide book. That's just a fact. It's not fair, but it is a fact. So it's exposure. The opportunity to make more money with page reads. So with that is people borrow, with Kindle Unlimited, they borrow the book, and then the author is paid per page read. Well, now it's only about little less than half a cent. So it's not a lot, and it has gone down, and people have been upset about it. But it's a volume game. You know, it's like, I get 2.5 million page reads a month. So at less than a half a cent, that doesn't hurt me. You know, do you see what I'm saying? Now, if you're only getting 1,000 page reads a month, then that's insulting sometimes, because it's less than the book. You know, with page reads, it's basically being sold for less than you're selling your book for, which is insulting sometimes. But when you have a lot of page reads, it's okay. It doesn't insult me. So, yes.
So are all of your books?
All of my books.
E-books.
All of my e-books. My print books are wide. Print books are not part of Kindle Unlimited. So you can put your print book anywhere.
So explain why.
Wide is being on Barnes & Noble, Nook, Kobo, iBooks, Google Play, if you can get them on there. So,
And wide is only hard copy.
no, wide is ebooks too.
Like my book next week will go, because it's through Thule Publishing, they're putting it out wide.
Yeah.
So like you can pre-order it right now
At any of those spots, yeah. So it's ebooks, and mostly what I'm going to talk about is ebooks, because while I sell paperback books, most of my sales come from ebooks, almost all of them. And I don't really advertise my paperbacks, not because I'm not fond of them. It's just the margin on them is not as great as it is on the ebooks.
Can you put the same book on KDP as an ebook and put it as a hard copy book somewhere else? Oh, okay.
Actually, I found out yesterday, one of my books is on Walmart as a paperback.
Oh, really?
I don't know how. I never put it there. So, but you know, it's not in the store. It's online. But I've got to figure that out. But yeah, yeah. I doubt I am.
You can sell the ebook
Anywhere.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And does Kindle or Amazon give you any data on like the genres and page reads per genre and things like that versus what you're doing?
No, not really.
No.
Here's the deal. If someone landed in our backyard from outer space and they saw indie publishers and what we do, what we put up with Amazon, they would think we had been taken hostage, because the amount of information we get is ridiculous. For a company as big as they are, with the amount of data they have, we get very little. But there are ways to find genres that do well, but that's not part of Amazon. I know how many page reads I get because they give us a printout of that, but it doesn't break it down. Like, I wouldn't know how much you got.
People actually download the book.
Right.
You just know how many pages are read. So
Right.
50 people could download a book in a day.
Yeah.
But all you know is that 200 pages are read.
Yeah.
And maybe only 4 people actually were starting to read the book.
Yeah.
So I guess I was kind of like, so like I'm more in business and she's more in travel, and you guys
Yeah.
are in fiction. So you don't know on ebooks
Which genre does better? I will tell you, thrillers and romance do the best. If you're nonfiction, then you are probably a publisher is a good option for you. I will tell you that, but I do have friends that write nonfiction and they do well. You just kind of have to get connected with a group that you can promote that. You know, basically, if you tell me again what you write. Corporate stuff. So you would start maybe a Facebook group, or you would start a mailing list, and those are the people you would target. You know, and you sort of have a community of people, and so you could do it independently. It's just sometimes it's harder.
Do you want to do a little shout out to K-Lytics for people who are trying to figure out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't. You tell, because I don't really know everything about K-Lytics, but they're also. I've met them and they're great. But
So, sorry to barge in because she's got a lot to go over and she knows a lot more than I do, but K-Lytics is I guess an application, might be the best way to put it. It's a subscription model service where they go through all of the Kindle sales for every single genre, and they can show you which ones are selling, how many books are in that particular genre, the amount average pages are in that genre, the amount average cost of the book, and you can figure out how, if people are actually reading it, and there's very few people who are selling books in that, then that's like a very hot niche. Or there could be thousands and thousands of books, like in dystopia, and nobody's reading them anymore, and so the likelihood that you're going to make any money in that particular genre at this time is pretty low.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to go in and figure out on your own if you've got a math brain, and if not, if you get their professional plan, which is $200 unless you get it in their specialty pricing, which is actually what they have most of the time, it's $100 per month. And Alex Newton will do little videos that are about half an hour long that tells you about specific genres every month. So that's something that can help you figure out where to place your stuff. You need to still figure out your own model, but it'll help you figure out like what niche to put it in. That's similar where you might be able to get #1 status, even if it's like 5 people are selling books in that niche, or if you should go ahead and go into the larger one because those books are selling copies there.
right. Yeah. Thank you. And then another good thing about one thing I didn't put on here is if you independently publish and you're well, even if you're not in KDP Select, but if you are independently published, you have access to your dashboard, so you can see your books and everything, and you can see the data. If you're with a publisher, you cannot, because they own the book. After they bought it from you to publish, they own the book, so you don't get to see it. But some smaller presses are working with their authors because they can't advertise. Large presses, the big 5 are not really advertising for new authors anyway, but they may do a little bit. But smaller presses are starting to work with their authors a little bit because they know that the author probably has a better handle on their audience and who they are. Who's reading and stuff. Another thing is if you're with Kindle Unlimited or KDP Select, you have the opportunities that are offered to those authors that aren't offered to authors who are wide, which are the Kindle Countdown deals and Kindle Free Days. So a Kindle Countdown deal is once every 3 months because you put your book in KDP Select for 3 months at a three-month period, and then you can take it out if you want after that and put it back in later if you want. But it's 3 months at a time. So every 3 months you can lower your price to 99 cents or whatever you want, but 99 cents is usually what most people do, and you can make 70% royalty on that 99 cents, which is awesome, because otherwise, if you're not in Kindle KDP Select, anything $1.99 and below is 35% royalty.
What about some of these others that sell their books for Jim Butcher and other, for $10 or whatever it is?
Yeah, and because Jim's with a publisher, what they do is they price their ebooks really high because they want them to buy the print books or the print books or the hardcover books. That's something that a lot of publishers do. They just price their ebooks really high, and people are like, well, I can get an ebook for $10 or I can get a hardback for $15. Gosh, that seems like a no-brainer. I'll get the 50. Yeah, I'll get the 50. Yeah, I know. Well, I would too because they're just easier. So you can do that's one thing, or you can have free days, and I'm about to do that I've done it actually this whole summer with each of my books, but I'm putting my book to free for 5 days. So if you're in KDP Select, you can have your book free. People download it, bunch of downloads. And then when they start reading it, if they're Kindle Unlimited readers, you get paid for the page reads. So it's really pretty awesome. But it's hard. You have to know how to get it in front of people because you can put your book for free and then nobody will buy it. So, but that's
Is this particularly just for fiction?
no, it's for anybody involved. Anybody enrolled in KDP Select. It's offered to them. So you could do it with anything.
Nonfiction?
Let me see. So the next is wide. So wide distribution, as we've said, is Barnes & Noble, Kobo, iBooks, Google Play if you can get it on there. Did I miss somebody? Seems like there was one more. But Nook, that's it, yeah. And so the big thing about going wide is you are not 100% reliant on Amazon, and I am. Like I am 100%. Like I could go home tonight and have an email, and Amazon could say, "Hey, guess what? We're going to only pay you like, less than a cent. I mean, less than a half a cent or something. I don't do math live, but or they could say, you know what? We're just not going to do this program anymore, and you're done. So I mean, it is a risk that it is a business risk that I take. My rationale on that is, if I was in business, why wouldn't I take advantage of the opportunity to make the most money I can make? Then if things change, or when they change, because they will, when they change, then I pivot and I do something else. But the advantage of being wide is you don't have to worry about that. Like Amazon can do whatever they do, and it doesn't affect you, there is benefit in that. I will not lie. There is a lot of benefit in that. You don't have to worry about scamming. There was a huge scamming issue this past year. Some KDP Select authors were stuffing their books with other books. Like they put their book and then they put 3 more of their books in the back of the book, because if I read, let's see, my book's like 300 pages. If you got 3 of them, that's almost 1,000 pages. If you read through, then that author gets paid for 1,000 pages. But they only have one. They only advertised one book. It was a big scamming issue. It was huge, and then they were trying to. It was just huge. And they got rid of a lot of them, but I'm sure a lot of them have come back just under different names. But anyway, so you don't have to worry about that, and you don't have to worry about the algorithm changes, which. I'm not even going to get into algorithms. It's so confusing, but it's how Amazon determines which books are doing well, basically. And so you don't want, if you're wide, you don't really have to worry about that.
So if you're just, can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're distributing, the Kindle Select, then how are you also on Amazon and these other ones if you're not wide? So.
Okay, so if you're wide, you can be on Amazon. I forgot to say that. We forgot to say that. Amazon, Nook, Kobo, iBooks, and then Google Play. So you can do, if you're wide, you can be on all those platforms.
But you're
If
not
you,
on this.
I am not on any platforms except Amazon. I'm exclusive to Amazon.
Oh, exclusively
I'm exclusive to Amazon.
So like if
So that's why
somebody has a Barnes & Noble Nook and doesn't want a hard copy of your book,
they would have to download the Kindle app on.
So is Kindle's Amazon then?
Yeah, I'm
Scary.
sorry.
I
Yeah.
bet it's Kindle Fire. I have no idea
Yeah.
that it's Amazon.
Yeah, it is. It's Amazon. It's Amazon. Or like I read on my phone, so I have the Kindle app on my phone.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah.
but if most of the time, wide readers just have an issue with Amazon because they feel like they're being cheated, and in some ways they are, because there's some authors that they can't just easily read. So, but yes, if you're wide, you're on every platform. If you're in KDP Select or Kindle Unlimited, you are not. You are exclusive to Amazon. That's why it's so dangerous. But I like to live life on the edge, so there you go. You can build a more diverse reader base, obviously, because you're on more platforms. Kobo is in, they're in almost every country. So, you can have readers in Uganda or in someplace in the Far East, and that would be awesome, yeah.
So if you're on Kindle Unlimited in the U.S., does that mean can you go wide in other countries? Okay, so it's
You are in Kindle Unlimited in every country.
Okay.
Yeah, you're exclusive to Amazon in every country. So that's, yeah. And you're able to control your content, and you can put your books in libraries. So the content meaning that you can have, well, content's probably not the right word. So libraries, I can't put my books in libraries because I cannot sell my books or distribute my books anywhere but Amazon. I know, it's pretty stupid, I know. But
Is that because you asked?
because I am in Kindle Unlimited, and because I am exclusive to Amazon. My books cannot go. My ebooks cannot go anywhere but to Amazon. Now my print books could, but not really, because I print through. That's only because I don't go through Ingram Spark, and they don't have their own ISBN right now. That's a whole nother subject, and I'm not even going to get into it. But to go to libraries, you do have to kind of go through a different channel of publishing your print books. My audio books, they're wide. They're everywhere. They're in libraries and stuff like that. It's just the ebook that Kindle doesn't want you distributed anywhere else. I went with a publisher on that. It's a friend of mine. He has a publishing company, and no, he's out of Las Vegas, but he is. I was working for him.
Go ahead, name drop.
It's Michael Anderle. Most people won't know who he is, but in the indie author world, it's a big deal. I mean, he's a big deal. But Michael Anderle, he writes the Catherian Gambit series and stuff, if you read sci-fi. But anyway, I had gotten some offers from Tantor and Podium, which are some audio companies. They had contacted me, and I didn't know anything about audio really, and so because I was working with them, the guy I worked with, he handled all their audio, and I was like, hey, can I ask you about audio? Like, they're asking, and he was like, well, we do audio, and I'm like, yeah, I know, that's why I'm asking you. And he said, no, we do audio. If somebody else wants your book, we want to have a chance at your book. And I don't regret it at all. I'm the only romance author they have, but I don't regret it because of the deal I have with him. It's as close to doing it myself as I can get, because he and I split 50-50, and so it's a really good deal compared to my other friends who are with other.
So you produced this with him?
They did.
Libraries. If I wanted to buy it and I went online, went to Amazon,
You went
could I buy the audiobook on Amazon?
On Amazon, on Audible, you can get it on Hoopla, you can get it on Overdrive, you can get it at Walmart. I did see it there on Walmart.
So is each one of your books then specific to one of these distributors?
No,
Or you're
only my ebook. Yeah. Yeah.
Your ebook can be only it cannot go to print or audible.
No,
Or
it can.
It can.
Mhm. Yeah, I have print books and audio books of all 4 of my books.
Okay.
Yeah, plus the ebook.
So
It's
they're
just the
trying to
ebook.
control that or, like,
Right. It's just the ebook is exclusive to Amazon. They do not own my book because I can walk away at any point. But while I am enrolled in the program, I am exclusive to Amazon.
And then your print book, is it an Amazon print on demand?
It is. It's with KDP Print. And if you were going to do something different, it's called Ingram Spark. You can write it down if you want to look at it. You can. So Ingram Spark, they can distribute to libraries and even some independent bookstores because you have to have your own ISBN number, which is that number on the back. And so once you have that, those books can then be bought outside of the KDP landscape. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Barnes and Noble, any bookstore. Seriously, I made sure it was out there.
And so if you turn it around on the back and that ISBN at the bottom, yeah, see it's got a price on it, doesn't it? Underneath,
Yes, it
yeah. And
Wait a
that's,
minute.
yeah, it does. I'm pretty sure.
$16.99.
Yeah, it's got a price on it, and that's why you can't. KDP books don't have that. They don't have those. KDP print books don't have that.
Maybe I know if it goes into the
It's the
library
last 4 numbers on it.
and it's downloaded through Overdrive, that the authors get paid per,
Mhm.
like for the audiobooks.
Yeah.
They get paid for how much is listened to or something like that.
Actually, no. If it goes, if they, if it goes through iBook, if it goes to libraries, the publisher sells it to the library.
Oh, so you just get the royalty?
Yeah, but they pay like a normal audiobook is anywhere from $14.99 to $17.99, and they pay like 3 times that at libraries because they're just they're just used to doing that.
Is it the ebooks that are uploaded to libraries where you get paid on a page?
I don't really know because I don't do that part.
Oh, yeah,
Because of KDP Select. Sorry. And then another thing is you're able to give away free books. So a big strategy in publishing is first free in series. So people have these long series of books, Jim Butcher for one, but he doesn't do free.
Sanderson.
Yeah, Sanderson, yeah. All of these big authors, they'll have long series, and what they'll do is they'll put their first book free. So it's basically a loss leader. They say, here's my first book, and then they hook you, and then you read all the way through. That's the plan. They hook you with that first one and all the way through. I can't do that with my books in KDP Select. I can't offer anything free. And in fact, if your books are free on all the other platforms, you have to petition Amazon to price match. And sometimes they will and sometimes they won't. Most of the times. If you keep bugging them, they eventually will. But for the most part, they don't like to have free books that are just priced free all the time on their platform. Amazon doesn't. But the other platforms don't mind. They encourage that, in fact. So that's one of the good things about being wide. And and box sets. So on Amazon, even if you're wide, if you price your box set, that's like having more than one book in a set. It's not the stuffing. It's actually 3 separate books or 4 separate books in a box set. You can't price over $9.99 and still get 70% royalty. That's their cutoff. Like if you priced it $12.99, you'd get 35% royalty instead of 70% royalty. But you didn't know that? Yeah. But on the other platforms, you can price it $25 and you'll still get 70% royalty. So that's one of the good things about being wide. There are good things about being wide, and eventually I will take a series wide. But I don't write fast, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And so we don't know when that's going to happen. The next thing we're going to talk about is to pre-order or not to pre-order. So I actually had to go in and change this. I had done this talk about 6 months ago, and I had to go in and change this because the pre-orders have changed. So if you were in Kindle Unlimited, KDP Select, it was bad to do pre-orders because they want you to release, and then all of the books that are sold on that first day really help your rank. Any books that were pre-ordered did not go towards your rank at all. So you could have 500 pre-orders, and then the day the book launches, so, maybe have 200, but those 500 didn't help you in any way. It actually kind of hurt you. So, but that's changed. So the good thing about having a pre-order is you can have links available for paid promos. So like in Leslie's book that is on pre-order, she already has a link for that book. Like she can go to Amazon, pull the book up, go to the top in the search bar and grab a link. And so if she wanted to run any kind of paid newsletter promos, which are like, there's one called Free Book C, there's one called Bargain Book C. I can put all these on the side. I didn't put them in here, but ebook soda, those will put your book in there and it will say, hey, new release, or if it's a 99-cent book, or if it's a free book or whatever. And so you can do that, but you have to have the link to do it. So it's hard to do that when you do a live release, which is no pre-order. You just, the day of, you put your book out.
Is your book done being written and everything before they put it up there?
For pre-order? Mm-hmm. That was another thing we're going to talk about, but yes.
Because I've seen some that say, we're going to have it released in August.
Yeah.
Then you pre-order, and it's like November.
Yeah. And
What happens?
so, no, you don't. But before, one of the cons of pre-orders was you could put like a placeholder document in there, and then if you went in and put the right document in the allotted amount of time, they wouldn't update it. And so people would get the wrong, that happened to me. But it wasn't a placeholder. It was with my first document, well, I'll tell you in a minute, because I'm going to get through this, because I'm going to talk about it in a minute. You can create a buzz with a pre-order. You can, because you can put it out in other groups and other Facebook groups, or if you have a mailing list, which we're going to talk about, you can create that buzz for your book. And that's huge, especially if you're a new author and you don't have a platform. If you can develop relationships with people and they will put your book out, or the link out, and that just is big to have that kind of buzz when you don't have a platform.
Do they not count pre-orders against you even if you're not in KDP?
Well, I don't really know, Leslie, but they don't do that anymore.
Okay.
So we're good,
Okay.
which is good. I know. You can test your Facebook and Amazon ads. We're probably not going to talk about those, but if you run Facebook or Amazon ads, you can do A/B testing. Like I was just talking to Sarah. She's trying to decide if she's going to use, because she writes romantic comedy like me, and she's trying to decide if she's going to use a man chest cover or if she's going to use an illustrated cover. And it could go either way. But I said, and she's going to get both covers. And I said, well, if you do that, you can run some low-cost Facebook ads to both of those covers. Well, you can't put your cover on there, but you can put an image with your cover in the bottom. But you could do that, and then you could run it to a landing page that says, sign up here to find out when the book is released or whatever. And then, but you really have to have the link to be able to do that sometimes, And so, or if you have the link, it would take them straight to Amazon, and then you could see if they're going to click or not. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've got two things up there, and then you can do A/B testing for them, which is great.
So do you think Manchester sells better or the other one?
I don't know. That's what we're talking about, because right now in romance and especially romantic comedy, for a long time, Manchester was an indication that there was sex on the page. And illustrated covers meant there wasn't, that there was no sex on the page, and that they were probably more sweet than they were saucy. And I don't mean sexy, I just mean saucy, like with some language and, stuff. But in the last year, a lot of big name romantic comedy writers that write steamy and saucy have gone to the illustrated covers, and they're doing great. So, but I haven't. I worry about reader expectations. I'm huge, that's my big thing is reader expectations. And when a reader sees an illustrated cover, unless they know who you are, like Helena Hunting, people know she uses an illustrated cover, but her books are saucy. Jami Albright, they may not know. And so if they get my book and it's got sex on the page and it's saucy, then they're going to write me a bad review, and I don't want that. So I'm all about reader expectations, from my name all the way down to my newsletters. So, and that includes my covers. It helps. Pre-orders help populate your also box. So if you go to a book on Amazon and it's your product page, and so it's here, and then it's got people who've either viewed this or bought this, also bought this, and there's a whole line of books there. You want those books to be exactly like your book. I mean, exactly. You don't want my romantic comedy in your epic fantasy. Yeah. So that's why you tell your family, if they don't read what you write, don't buy my book for 2 weeks, please. Thank you so much for supporting me, but don't buy my book. Because if it's like my mom who reads Mary Higgins Clark, and if she doesn't, but if she bought a lot of books on Amazon and all her books were these Mary Higgins Clark type books, and then she buys my book,
now this one is like that.
Mary Higgins Clark is going to show up in my also box, and Amazon doesn't know what the hell to do with it. They don't know where to put my book, because
You take one of my cards to your mom.
Yeah, I will. I was
It's an
actually I was
algorithm.
going to tell her about it. It's an algorithm thing. Yeah, the algorithm doesn't know. So when you do a pre-order and you get it in front of the right people, then your also bots are beautiful. They look just like your book, and so yeah, your business book. You're just going to be, you target business people that write what you write. You would target.
7 habits.
Like it's not self-help, but it's yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah. So you would target those others because what you don't want necessarily, well, you certainly don't want my saucy romantic comedy in your inspirational also books. I mean, in your inspirational self-help book. So you just would want to get readers. You want to target readers with your book. That's why advertising and or these paid newsletters are good, because let's say these paid newsletters, a free book, so if you sign up for one, you should, I really encourage all of you to sign up for that one, BookBub, because what you will see is you have to pick free Booksy or bargain Booksy, but you have to pick the category of books that you like. Like I like romantic comedy. It's free Booksy. It's FREEBOOKSEY. Yeah. And so you have to pick what you like. I mean, you pick your preference of books. So every day you get an email and it will say, today's books are this, because people are constantly running their free books or their bargain books in those newsletters. And so you get to see how they work, and you get to see what books are coming to you when you say, I like inspirational self-help books. Or if you just said, I like self-help books, will you get the kind of books that you're wanting to get to match your books? So it's a good way to do some market research too. BookBub is the big one, huge. They have like BookBub, BOOKBUB.com.
Set up an author page there.
Yeah, which I always encourage people to do. But as a reader, you can go and sign up and you pick your preferences again. But that's the big one. Like people. They're still effective, but a couple of years ago, people were like selling their children to get a BookBub ad, which meant able to get in that newsletter, that daily newsletter, because people would, you might get 20, 30, 50, 60,000 downloads of your book. And then if you have a series, even if 10% of those people read through, that's huge read through, and you get, they're buying your book or they're reading your book, and it's
So are you doing this along with the Kindles?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing this as well as the Kindles?
Mm-hmm. It's all part of it.
Do you know how many with the populating alphabet?
How many it sells?
What it takes to bring it up? Because I noticed on my page there's only like 2 covers in the also box, and one of them is some bizarre book that I have no idea what category
Right,
it's in.
right.
And I don't know how many times.
Well, I don't know necessarily, but with my first book, I had 99 pre-orders, and my also bots were beautiful. They were beautiful. They were exactly what they were supposed to be. So I do know, and I think with this book that I just did, because I did a pre-order on it, I think by about 40, because you can see, they'll tell you, if you can see your dashboard, they tell you. But by about 40 pre-orders, I started seeing seeing it populate.
Is that if you're doing pre-orders through Amazon and not just pre-orders on your website?
Yes. Well, it would have to be on Amazon or Kobo, or if you're going to go on all the platforms, it would be on all of those platforms. Yeah. But we're talking about specifically Amazon because they're the ones that have the also bots. Do Kobo and Barnes and Noble, do they do that? I don't have.
I don't think I've noticed it on Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, at Barnes and Noble, they'll tell you when it's coming out, and then if you are with a publisher who's got a contract with them, pre-orders, but I don't think they do it for indie. And Kobo is weird because they'll do a bunch of stuff in Canada before they'll do anywhere else.
Right.
Their house. So I feel like if you're Canadian and you're up in Canada, they're all happy because you're a Canuck. But
Yeah.
if you're like us, they don't do it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
could be wrong because that information was like from a year ago, but I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain.
So the last thing on this, the pro, is it can help with launch. So it can now help with launch. I had for this book 400 pre-orders. My fourth book, I had 400 pre-orders. the day before the book launched, I think I was at 3,000 in the store. Like my rank was 3,000 in the whole store, not in a category, but in the whole store, all of Amazon. So that was before the book even went live. So it was, and then the next day, instead of going backwards, I just kept going forwards, and we'll talk about that. But so that's one of the good things about a pre-order. The cons is danger of getting the wrong file. Okay, so this happened to me. My first book, I spent a year figuring out indie publishing. My sales page looked amazing. I mean, because you can go on and set it all up in Author Central, and I had done everything right. And I submitted my file, and then when I sent it out to my advanced readers, some of them said, hey, there's a couple of typos, you might want to fix them. And I was like, oh, yeah, no problem. That's the great thing about indie publishing. You can fix your file. So I go in and fix my file. I upload it. Still plenty of time because you have to do it like 6 days. I can't even remember what it is because I don't even give them that long anymore, but 6 days before or something. It was in plenty of time. I uploaded the new folder. On the day the book launched, because I had pre-ordered my own book, I was up at midnight when the thing launched. 99 people got the wrong file. 99 people got the wrong file. Yeah, and
But it's
so
not your book, it was just not the most recent.
it was not the most, so it had the typos and stuff. So I have to spend the next day, well, and not only that, like my blurb and everything that looked beautiful in Author Central, the minute that book went live, and it looked beautiful on the sales page, the minute the book went live, something happened, and it all just smushed together. It was just this nightmare thing. Yeah, and so thankfully I have a friend in New Zealand, and she was up when I was having my freak out, and she told me what to do. But I spent the next morning, the entire morning, on the phone with KDP, trying to get them to send out a new file, or they put the new file in, but then I wanted the 99 people to get the new file. They don't do that unless you can prove to them that the corrections are severe enough, I guess, or then they won't send out a new file. So I had to submit all that. That was just a nightmare. So.
Why was the wrong file set up?
So when you set up a pre-order, you have to upload a file. So I I knew not to upload just a dummy file. So I upload the correct file. But when my advanced reader team read it,
Okay, so
they found some typos that I wanted to fix. So I re-uploaded the corrected file, and it didn't go out. That actually happened twice.
So did you lose,
That happened to me earlier this year. I put well, not the most recent file in there
Yeah.
to hold it, and about a week ahead of time, I tried to upload the right one, it was locked out. So I called them, and they said, send customer service an email and tell them what's gonna go on.
Yeah.
They released the book at midnight. Midnight plus 1 minute, I downloaded the new document in there. They held everything for 1 day, and took a 24-hour cycle, and then the book started going out
Yeah.
after that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. So nobody got the bad file?
Nobody got any bad files.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because that wasn't my situation.
and you
Well,
can't,
they said I had to send an email
Yeah.
to customer service, let them know what was going on.
Yeah,
In advance.
in advance. Yeah.
They knew about it.
Yeah.
As soon as I fixed it, then I
Oh,
sent them
okay.
an email and said,
Yeah.
book is ready to go.
Yeah.
And I uploaded it, boom.
Yeah.
24 hours later, I got the, anyway.
Okay.
so they didn't let you correct your files?
They did, but it took it took a day. Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a day. Nothing happens fast on Amazon. So it saps your strength from launch. Saps the strength from launch week. I left that in there because sometimes it can. Sometimes you'll get like this big push, like on launch day, and then another day next, and then all of a sudden everything starts falling. So you got to, if you're going to do a pre-order, you got to sort of have some things behind it to make sure that you sort of keep the book selling, which is tricky. I mean, we all struggle with that. And it can possibly hurt your rank at launch. I left it in because we're still not 100% sure, but we're pretty sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure after what happened to me, but I left that in just because.
How many pre-orders did you say you had on your latest one?
400. Yeah, 400. But it was only on pre-order it was less than 2 weeks because, and I'll tell you why.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, thank you. So, like we haven't even got to launching, but this is important stuff, y'all. This is important.
We're an hour in.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Intermission, let me know.
Yeah, if y'all do, y'all need a break. Okay, okay.
Okay.
No, I'm sweating like a pig,
Actually
but
go to 10, I
yeah.
expect to, but
Um,
it's totally fine if you guys are fine with it.
I'm gonna try to, after I get through this, it's a little faster. So the pros and cons of 99 cents. So launching at 99 cents, that is a strategy that a lot of authors use. I do not. I did a 99-cent launch on my second book, and I cried for 2 weeks because I had set up these newsletter promos for 99 cents for 2 weeks. So I was locked in, and all I could see was money just flying out the window. I mean, like at 99 cents, because my rank was low, but I wasn't. I launched at $2.99, and then I raised my books to $4.99, and so at 99 cents, yeah, it was painful, but it's still it is a valid way to launch. You can rank really high. Yes.
How can you, if you launch it, well, I thought you were in KU. So.
You can launch at 99 cents. You just can't be free.
Oh, okay. I see
Yeah,
what you're
can't be
saying.
free.
Yes,
You can
okay.
launch at 99 cents.
What I did on the 99-cent launch for my book is I sent it to a bunch of people I know were gonna write reviews.
Yes.
That way they're verified purchasers, because their email is registered.
Yeah.
So I blocked a whole bunch of them, I got credit for the sale.
Yes.
And then I sent them to the people.
Very good.
And then they got credit for being a verified purchaser.
Right. Right.
And that
Which
was
is awesome.
And so for, less than $50, I got
Yeah.
a lot of mileage out of the 99 cents.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's awesome. I wouldn't do it for more than that, more people than that, but because I have a way you can do it with it. You don't get the verified purchase, but it's okay. So, but I think that's a really smart thing to do with your first book. That's pretty genius. It triggers the Amazon algorithms faster when it's 99 cents because you're just getting more sales. It's just more sales, faster sales. You can run paid newsletter promos. So these promos that I was telling you about, the free Booksy, the bargain Booksy, there are a lot of them, but they really like the free and 99-cent books. You can run a $2.99 book, but you're not going to get as much mileage on a $2.99 book as you are a free or 99-cent book, because the people that they get those newsletters because they're looking for bargain books. I mean, they're looking for the sale. So that's one of the things. And you can do newsletter swaps, which we'll talk about later.
So do most people want to buy a 99-cent book? I always avoid 99-cent books. I just do. It's just like
A lot of people will. A lot of people will. And like for my free books, because I have social proof behind my free books with like my reviews are like 550 on the first one, 3 something on the second one. That last two have 100, but each of them have 100 and something. So there's social proof on that these are not just,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully.
A lot of it depends on who the author is.
That's true, but a lot of people don't know who the author. I mean, there's just because there's so many. There's not that name recognition that
Yeah.
we used to have. The Nora Roberts or the Brandon Sanders. I mean, everybody still knows who he is, but Sanderson. But it's just not the same because there's so many. So that social proof of reviews is really good. Which
How long do you wait between the $2.99 and rating?
I usually, when it starts to drop in rank, significantly. Oh, I'm sorry. Pretty significantly. And I'll tell you what I did with my last one. So the cons, you can, the loss of money, like I said, I just watched money fly out the window. The potential of a big fall when the price changes. So when you raise the price, there could be a really big fall in rank, and Amazon doesn't like that very much. And then it's weaker for the algorithms. So launching with more money, with more ambition than you have cash, which let me just tell y'all, yeah, it was me too. So here's the deal. So I spent the year, I'm learning indie publishing, and I got 2 kids in college, and I went, no, I was still working full time. But so anyway, we just didn't have a lot of money. I mean, I sold plasma to pay for my edits. So that's how important getting my book edited was. I went for 3 months every week, twice a week, to the plasma donation place and sat there for sometimes 3 and 4 hours because it just depended on how many people were there. And
you wrote during that time, right?
Sometimes I did, but not always because I'm really distractible. So yeah, it was just really important. But here's the deal: I was out of blood. So when the book launched, I didn't have any more to give, and so I was like, I don't have, I just don't have any money. So I know what it's like to launch a book with no money. But what I did do was, so there's a guy named Mark Dawson. He has a self-publishing show podcast. Good guy, really good information, self-publishing show. And he always talks about building your email list before you have a book out. And I'm like, if I could have seen Mark Dawson, I would have punched him in the throat, because I'm like, how do you build an email list when you have nothing? Because I already write slow. I can't write something else, because he suggests like a short story or a book or a novella, a short book, or like if you're nonfiction, it would be maybe just like an advice, or like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cheat sheet sort of, something separate. Like for you, maybe it's some inspirational something, that's just before the book, but whatever you do should reflect who you are as a writer. Like I'm not going to put out a self-help thing that I've written, which I haven't written it, but if I wrote it, I'm not going to put that out as my giveaway, because that doesn't reflect who I am as a writer. Whatever you give away needs to reflect who you are as a writer. And so anyway, he was like, you need to build your email list. So my book came out in April. So in February, I was in this big Facebook group. It's gigantic now, and I'll tell you, it's 20 books to 50K. There's good information in there. I wouldn't necessarily go in there and comment. I would go in and look at all the files. There's great information in the files. But it's kind of become a weird place. But at the time, it was a great place, and it had it's 20 books, TO 50K. I'll put it in the thing. So there's a lady in there, and she was doing a preview promo, and I was like, preview promo? What's that? So I looked, and so back then, they were doing these group promos to build a newsletter. So you would use, it's called Prolific Works now, or Book Funnel is who I really recommend. And so what you do is you would put your book or your file on Book Funnel. So I haven't launched the book yet, so the book is still free game. Like I can still do whatever I want, because I haven't enrolled it in KDP Select. So she was doing a preview. So I put 3 chapters up of the first book. So I put the thing up, but I was like, I'd love to be part of this. And she said, great, send me your link. And I'm like, what link? And she said, your MailChimp link. And I was like, I don't have a MailChimp link. And so I spent the weekend on Skype with a friend setting up MailChimp, which I was drinking very heavily by the end of the weekend, because it's not intuitive. MailChimp is not intuitive at all. It's terrible. So then you connect that to BookFunnel. So BookFunnel is kind of an aggregator. You can put books on there. You can put files on, like novellas. You can put like 3-chapter previews. You can put giveaways like you use at the back of your book, which I'll tell you about in a minute. You can put that on there, and it's a very small charge. They're a great company. They're from here in Houston, and then you connect your MailChimp to that. So MailChimp's where you run your email list off, because you can't run your email list from your private account. You have to have an email service to do that. MailChimp, MailerLite, ConvertKit. You can do Wix. If you have a Squarespace website, you can do it off that. I have a Squarespace website, but I haven't even tried. I'm just going with people who've already done it. But
And you said it was
BookFunnel, all one word, and I really recommend just going on there and kind of looking around, see what they have. They just have some really cool things. I mean, there's just a lot. Actually, you should get him to come talk. He's awesome. He's a great speaker. He's from here in Houston. Damon Courtney. But anyway, so I didn't have the book formatted. I mean, I didn't have those chapters formatted. They had been in contests, so those 3 chapters were clean, because every time you enter a contest, somebody critiques it, and, it just gets better. So I get involved in this group promo. There are like 12 of us, and we're all putting up previews of our book, and everybody knows it's a preview. We have it on there everywhere. It's a preview. We put it out. We said,
Does that protect you?
no, well, you don't want somebody downloading your book and going, hey, there's only 3 chapters here. So we put it there. So the way this promo worked was they could get the preview, and then at the end of the preview, if they wanted to, they could sign up for your newsletter list, because it was just a preview. A lot of people, which I'll happen next, will say, no, you have to give me your email list, and then I'll give you your book. So I got 82 email subscribers, and I was freaking out. I'm like, 82? I had 0. And that's another thing. So, like, you do these things, and they're like, put it out to your list, put it out to your people. I didn't have a list, but I put it out to anybody that would listen to me. I was putting it out on my personal page. I was putting it out on my I did have a Jami Albright Facebook page at that point, and I was putting it everywhere. And I would put it multiple times a day. Hey, did you see this? And well, because what it is, it's a link. So there's like a home page. Like, you click the link, it takes you to a home page. It's got all the books and their links, and then you could, and then you could click on the one you wanted. Yeah. So that's another thing. Y'all get involved with some of these, like be a reader of some of these promos, because they're kind of out there everywhere, and you can click on it and see how it all works. But that's how it works. So basically, 12 of us put all of our previews on BookFunnel. BookFunnel created a landing page for us and gave us a link. We put that link out to people. People clicked the link, took them to BookFunnel, and then they could pick which ones they wanted to read. And most people, I think most of us got about the same number of subscribers. Some of them got more because they were a little bit more well known, but of course nobody knew who I was. And so that was great. 82. I'm ready to go. But then I was working for an author, and she was a pretty big romance author, and she did one of these promos, and there were like 25 or 30 authors in it, and they were all doing full books. And she said, do you want to put your preview in? And I said, hell yeah. And so I did, and I got 1,100 subscribers. So when I started, before the book came out, I had 1,200 subscribers who wanted that book, because they read the preview and they wanted the book. But there were 6 weeks between when that happened and when the book came out. I had maybe 20 unsubscribes, maybe. I just had very, very few unsubscribes.
But once they subscribe, what are you giving them?
Well, so they got that. They got that little preview to sign up, and then I sent out an email almost immediately, and it was this story of, I put my daughter's pants on, and I thought they were mine, and I thought I'd gained all this weight like in a week, and it's a ridiculous story. It's very zany, it's very crazy, but it is very much how I write. It is very much, so it was pretty much like, when you sign up for Jami Albright, this is what you're getting. So if you wrote science fiction, you would send maybe something out giving a review of your favorite science fiction book in your first newsletter or something like that. So, just whatever it is that relates to you, because what you're doing is you're selling yourself. I mean, you're getting people on your email list, but they're getting on your list because they want what you've got. My subscribers may not want what you got, and what your subscribers probably would not want what I have. So you want to make sure you're hitting those right people, and that's why these promos are pretty good, because they target specific people. So, I would say build your email list beforehand if you can. Some things you can do are, like I said, the novella, or that's a short book, or a short story. You have to have a cover, but those are fairly easy to get. You can do a pre-made cover for like $25. I mean, and I had my cover for the book, and so I just put a little like stamp thing on it that said preview, or whatever. And so that's what I used. But you could do your favorite, maybe you do a review of like your favorite book in whatever genre you're in. Or, you know, if you had a tip sheet, you could do a tip sheet or something like that. Some of those things, really and truly, to get them on before they've read your book, it's better to have some sort of short story book, you know, something like that to give away. Previews don't really work anymore, but other things do. So those people wanted me. They wanted my stuff. So I did some low-cost advertising, which, I did some small newsletter promos. I only did one because it was $15, and I was like, well, okay, I could do $15. But I got pretty good return on my investment for the $15. It was called eBook Soda, and they took 2.99 books, and so they sent it out on the day of release. I did some low-cost advertising, which was Amazon Marketing Services ads. Now, let me just tell y'all this. Okay, I advertise heavily, and haven't always because I didn't have the money, but I did advertise from the beginning. A lot of people will say not to do that until you have several books or a couple of books. But I needed that book to make money for me, and so I was willing to do it. But, you know, it was $2 a day, and then I raised it to $5 a day, and I was like, oh my gosh, how many days are left in the month? And, you know, I didn't tell my husband, and then at the end of the month, I had to tell him I'd spent $130, but I had made $1,800. So it was a pretty good return on investment. And he was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So we did it another month. But then when I got paid, because you don't get paid for 2 months with Amazon, but when I got paid, so as I made more, I spent more. But I didn't spend what I didn't have, if that makes sense. And that's so important in the beginning. Like when you get farther along, and if you're making money and you want to level up and go to that next level, and you want to borrow some money to do that, go for it. But in the beginning, only spend what you have. It's just so important, because you don't want to get in that hole too soon. You know, that just would be terrible. And then you could consider a 99-cent launch for a short period of time, but I'm talking like 5 days, like a short period of time. But I would not do a 99-cent launch if you have an email list. That's just because you have people who want your book. I don't do, like, some people will do a 99-cent for 3 days for their newsletter subscribers or their fans. I don't. Those are the people that will pay full price for my book. I'm not gonna, and they don't care. They're not looking for a deal. They just want the book. So. But if you did a 99-cent, you could do it for a short period of time and then raise the price. You could. Okay, so that was what I did for book one. So book one, first launch, I did the whole. I'm going to go back real quick. I built my email. I did newsletter swaps. So those newsletter swaps are. So if I have a newsletter and Sarah has a newsletter, we write the same thing. So I could say, Sarah, do you want to do a newsletter swap with me? She says yes. So she takes my book.
I would totally get the better end of the
She takes my book and she puts it in her newsletter. With like I'll do the cover and I'll do the blurb. And I have like in my newsletter Albright Spotlight. And so I'll have several books in there each time I send out a newsletter. And then I would take her book and put it in my newsletter. And so her book goes out to my newsletter people, my book goes out to her newsletter people. It's a win-win. You got to be careful. You know, you don't want to swap with people who don't write what you write. You don't want to swap with people who don't write like you write, or take as good a care with their writing as you do. And you can tell that by looking in the look inside, because most people, you know, if you look in the look inside on Amazon and they've got, you know, typos in the first three pages, you know this book is probably not on the same level as my book, because I take care with I spend a lot of money on editing. And so so there's some things to take care of, but newsletter swaps still work. And I did them, like for the first book, I had 9 of them set up for 9 days after the book came out. So that book launched to 1,350 in the whole store. So when it went live, I think it was like at 6,000. And then by the end of that day, it was 1,350. So it was pretty good. It was a pretty good day. I'm not gonna lie. It was a good day, and I kept it in the top like 2,000, 3,000 with newsletter swaps for a couple of months.
Okay, you had a lot of names on your newsletter by the time you launched, but what about people who
Who don't?
have?
I'm going to tell you what to do. So that's not. It's not going to help you to launch, but what it will help you do is for the next book, or even if you want to promote your current book. So at the end of your book. So this is when you're launching subsequent books, and I kind of took a lot of this out because it's a little more in depth, and we don't need to do that. We just need to know how to launch the first book, and then how to launch some other strategies to do that don't cost us a lot of money. And that's what this is. And so, but one of the things you really, 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 really want to do is your back matter, the back matter in your book. So in the back of my book, when somebody finishes the first book, it says, do you want to know what happens to Scarlett and Gavin a year later? It involves a hot rock star, a naked trip to the barn, and the Baptist preacher. Click here. And so who's not going to click that? I think my pastor would click that. I'm not going to lie. No. So when they click that, and that's just a scene. That's not a short story. That's not a book. That is just a scene. To get that scene, they have to sign up for my newsletter. And so you want something very enticing, and that's where a tip sheet or a book of prayers or a book of affirmation or like a affirmation list or something like that would be beneficial. If you write nonfiction, you could do stuff like that. And you just put it at the back of your book, and all of that is done with your formatter. You set that up on BookFunnel. So whatever your little cookie is, I call it the cookie at the end of the book. Whatever your cookie is, you put that on BookFunnel. And then the link, BookFunnel gives you a link, and you put that link in the back of your ebook. And then all they have to do is click, and it takes them straight to them.
Oh, okay, so they're going to BookFunnel, not your website?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, they're going to BookFunnel. Because here's the deal. You want the fewest number of clicks possible. You do not. The more clicks you have, the more hoops they have to jump through, the less likely it is they're going to stay with you. Yeah. So you want that one click. It takes them there. You've got your, and what I do, I just use the cover, and it's got another stamp on it that says 1 year later or something like that. And so it's right there. All they have to do, and it clearly says you're signing up for Jami's newsletter. You're signing up to get her, the extra scene. They click. And they give their email, and then it sends them an email to their email. I mean,
It's a link code downloaded on
Gmail or whatever.
But when they click, is it going to MailChimp or is it going to?
When they click, yes, it's a MailChimp feature. Yeah, it's a MailChimp feature on BookFunnel's site, and so it's just a sign-up page, and they put their name and their email. And they click OK, and then I think they have to do a confirmation. I always do double opt-in because I don't want anybody on my email list that ain't going to pull their weight. So if they don't want to be there, I don't want them there because I have to pay for them. At a certain point, like a MailChimp, I think it's up to 1,000. Guess what? I had to start paying as soon as I got an email list, pretty much, which sucked. But still, I mean, I'd rather have the email list. But you just don't want people on your email list that don't want to be there. And so if they just want to get your freebie and then they unsubscribe, that's fine with me because they've still got your freebie. And they had to read your book to get the freebie. So there's a good chance they'll read another one if they see it. So that's your back matter. You can also put something in the back about reviews. Like if you like the book, would you consider leaving a review? This is what I do. It's a little bit next level stuff, but a lot of people do it from the beginning, and I did it from the beginning. Okay, stay with me. So everything I do, everything I do in my books is about grabbing them with the first book and pulling them through the whole series, the whole thing. So and I want them to stay with me. Like, it's okay if they unsubscribe, but I really don't want them to. I want them to stay with me. So when they sign up for my freebie for book 1, well, it's actually for all my books. I have something, except for one, I have something in the back of all the books. But they sign up, they get their freebie. They read their freebie, everything's fine, they've signed up. Then 3 days later, they get an email from me, which is an automated email. You can set that up on all of them. You can set it up on MailChimp. You can set it up on MailerLite. But it's an automated email series. I only do 3. Some people do like 6, 7, 8, 9. I only do 3. The first one says, hey, did you get your freebie? I hope you enjoyed it. If you're on my list, this is what you can expect from me, kind of thing. And then, yeah, I'm fine. It's probably completely charged.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dog is telling me something stupid.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. And so then the second one is, would you consider leaving a review, you know? And then the third one is, help a sister out. Would you like to be on my advanced reader team? I have an advanced reader team of 160 people that have only signed up from the back of my books. So when I launch now, I launch with no less than 50 reviews. Like, I have 50 reviews usually before the book even goes on. Would you consider being on my would you like to be on my advanced reader team? Now, right now, I've got like a folder with about 100 people in it that I haven't done anything with since this last book came out, because I don't really want it to go more than 160 people, 150, 70 people. But so what I need to do now is go in and weed out. But I will tell you, with this last book, I sent out 160 emails to people saying, hey, do you want the book? Here's the link. I had 120 people download it, and by 11 days out, I had 111 reviews on that book. So my review, from the beginning, like I did on the first book, I did something called shifted sheets. Now they do something, but it's not like this, but I paid $50. So like I had $75 or something for my launch. So I took 15, put it towards that thing. I think I took some and went and drank on it. And then I spent $50 on shifted sheets. Horrible name, but what they do is they send your book out. They have like a newsletter list, and they send your book out and they say, hey, does anybody want to review this? And so people opt in according to taste. So I gave away 300 books for my first book. But guess what? I didn't care. Those were not my readers. But now some of them are my readers, because they read the book and they liked it and they got on my newsletter list. And some of them are still on my review team. So I didn't care about giving them away because they didn't know who I was. Now they do. So, but I gave away 300. I got about 70 reviews from them. So for me, that was awesome. It was worth my $50. And yes.
Is that
Shifted sheets. But there's some others, Jim.
That's specific to romance, I believe, right?
I don't know, it's not.
It's not.
It's not, because I asked about a dystopian, somebody had a dystopian, but romance is kind of better. But well, it would still probably be okay, but there are a few others.
Did you send them?
Oh, Booksprout. Booksprout, I used them this time. I'd never used them before, and I paid for the upgrade so I could give away 50 art copies, and I think 40 of them reviewed, and so that was great. That's the paid version. I think the free version you can give away 10 or 15, but 10 or 15 reviews are gold. And really, if you can get to 50, there's sort of a tipping point. It's like once you get to 50, it's like people just kind of continue to review. I don't have anything to do with that, but that's how it seems to have worked, you know.
What format were the books in that you sent them?
Ebooks. They're all ebooks. All ebooks. Yeah.
Where are they leaving the reviews? Because if it's not
Oh,
live.
that's what I was going to tell you. So what you do is you then put I didn't do this with the first one because I didn't really know about it, but with the other books I did. You put your paperback up before your ebook comes out. So you load your paperback to Amazon or wherever you're at. You load it. Yeah, you load it.
It's like a month before, isn't it?
You can do it a month before. I did 2 weeks
Okay.
before. Well, it was a week. It was more like a week because I send out my advanced reader copies 2 weeks before the book comes out because I want to give them plenty of time to read it. And then, and the thing with BookFunnel, if you use them, you can load the emails in there, and they'll send out a certified email which has a watermark on it. So if your book shows up on a pirated site, which it will, you can have them look and see if that book was one of the ones that were watermarked, and you'll know who did it. I tried to do that this time because, like, before the book even came out, this book was on a pirated site. But I asked them, and they said they would look into it, but I still haven't heard anything back. But it's okay. I don't worry about pirated books. Again, those aren't my readers. I mean, they're not my readers, and there's not much you can do about it. I mean, the bad thing is when you're in Kindle Select, when you're in KDP Select, you're not supposed to have your book anywhere else. So technically, I could get in trouble for my books being on a pirated site, even though it's not my fault. But they've done it. They've called people on it before. Yeah. So there are things you can do, but I tend to not even do those. But
Your 100 to 150 reviewers that you give arts to, those are free copies to them in advance reviews. Okay.
free copies, and then so I don't even know what I was saying now. I'm so sorry. But I sent the review copies out. I put the paperback up, and then I let my BookFunnel will send them like a reminder. Hey, you've got a week. The book comes out here. Be sure you're reading the book. Getting ready to do the thing. And then I sent them, because I have them in a separate email list on MailChimp. I sent them a link, email and said, hey, the paperback is up. If you want to leave a review on Amazon, you can do it. If you want, and then I always say leave it on Goodreads, because you can leave a review on Goodreads as soon as they finish reading. So we're going to talk about Goodreads in a minute. So that's how you do it. So with this book, I had 50 reviews before the book went live. So that was great. It really worked out well. Any more? Do y'all have any questions? Because we're going to move on. I know I could talk all night, and y'all are probably like, well. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. So this is exactly what I did this time, because here's what happened. Let me tell you what happened. So, first book, had very little money. Second book, I got a little more money. So I spent a little more money, and it worked out really well. The first book launched at $13.50. The second book launched to $696 in the store. The third book, I had more money, and I spent it on AMS ads and really Facebook ads. I was running Facebook ads by then. But I really just did those paid newsletter too, and that book launched to $3.98 in the store, and I almost peed my pants. And then this time though, I had a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie. I had $5,000, and I was going to spend it on my launch, and I was going to hit the top 100. That was my plan. I had a good plan. And 2 weeks before the book launched, our air conditioner basically blew up. Basically blew up. We had some money in savings, but it wasn't enough. So we like to pay cash for things, so I donated half my money to the air condition fund. So 2 weeks before my launch, I have to scramble, because basically I was going to do very little besides Facebook ads. I was just going to pour money into Facebook ads. I have really good luck with it. I mean, my Facebook ads work. They just work. I've learned how to do them from really smart people, and they work. And so I was fairly confident that I could get pretty close to the top 100 with $5,000. I mean, who can? And if I couldn't, I don't need to be in this business. But now I only have $2,500, which is still a huge amount of money. Do not get me wrong. But the bottom line is I had to scramble, and I had to figure out how to do a big launch with half my budget. So this is what I did. So my daughter, she helps me, and she did some countdown graphics, and I'm going to show you those in a minute. But she did these graphics. So for 10 days, I put the graphic up, and it said 10 days on it. And I'll show you in a minute. And then I put that in my group and on my Facebook page. So I have a Jami Albright Facebook page, and then I have a Jami Albright's Brightons, which is a private group. A private group you have to join. And I have 900 people in there. And so every day I put the graphic up, and I put an excerpt. So I did 10 days of excerpts from chapter 1 to the end of chapter 2. So it was like 500 words a day. So I put it up with the thing, and I made a big deal about it. Then that night I went live and I read the excerpt. And so that works for me because they're set in Texas. I got this hickey accent, and so it works for me. So those really worked well. So every day I did a countdown, and I had done the countdown thing before, but this time it was very brand specific, and you'll see what I mean. It was the same picture every day. It just, the number changed. And so then the day before it was like, or the day it launched, it said now live. So that's what I did. I also put the book on a pre-order. There's a guy named Chris Fox. He's written some really great books, Right to Market. Of course, I can't remember. First 5,000 words an hour. He's got some good writing books. But he's a smart guy, writes science fiction. He's really, really smart. And he's a friend of mine because of the Smarter Artist Summit. And I emailed him when this happened with my, air conditioner. And I was in Jamaica, by the way. And I'm like, Chris, what the heck do I do? Like, I don't know what to do. He said, put that pre-order up today. Because I hadn't really thought I would do a pre-order. I was still kind of on the fence about it. And I did. Because here's the deal, and here's a pro tip. I wrote it down for you. If you ask advice from smart people and they take the time to give it to you, then do them the courtesy of following their advice. That is so insulting to people, because I know so many people that will say that, and then they don't get the answer they want, so then they go to the next person, and then they go to the next person, and then they poll the room, and it's just insulting because those people are busy. He is a very busy guy. And
By the way.
what did you say?
Plot gardens. There's a book.
Yes, about plotting. And so for him to take the time to answer my email was huge. And so I was going to do what he said. So, and then we do the graphics, and then we did the excerpts. I had my daughter make a book trailer. It's so cute. It totally fits the book. And I ran that every place I could. Now on that and the excerpts with the graphics, everything had the Goodreads link, because you want people to go to Goodreads and mark your book to be read, because when your book goes live, they get an email. So that's free advertisement. You want them to go to BookBub. You want to create a BookBub author page. You want them to follow you on BookBub, because when your book goes live, they get an email, free advertisement. See, free. Everything everything had the pre-order link too. So everything that went out had the pre-order link, the Goodreads link, and the BookBub link. And because I'm shoving.
At $2.99?
That was at $2.99. Yeah, I launched at $2.99. And then I'm reading my own writing. Oh, and then I asked for likes, shares, and comments from my readers. Not just would you share this? Would you? And they didn't know they just knew something had happened. I didn't make a big deal out of it because I didn't want them. They're my readers. They're not responsive. Yeah, exactly. And so, but I mean, they did know that things were being done differently because I hadn't done this before. And so, but they were great. They shared. Okay, I utilized the tools on Goodreads. Now, a lot of people hate Goodreads. I hated Goodreads. Goodreads can be a really nasty place. People leave some really, really nasty personal reviews. I have a few. And so I've always just steered clear of Goodreads. But I watched a webinar by an author named Alessandra Torre, and she was like, why are you staying away from Goodreads? Goodreads is awesome. There are 5 things you can do on Goodreads to promote your book, and only one of them costs money. So it's like, why aren't you on there? Why aren't you doing stuff? So one of them is the marking to be read, having people go mark to be read because they get the email. Another thing you want to do when you're on Goodreads, when you have a book, but even before you have a book, you want to go on as a reader. And so every time you like or comment on a review, that shows up in the feed. So your name is so if you have an author profile on Goodreads, your name is being shown up in it's in the news feed. So take 5 minutes a day and go in and like a few reviews and comment on a few reviews that are like your book. And then it just is exposure. And of course right now I can't think of the other 2, but I'll tell you the paid one was I did a giveaway on Goodreads. So they have a giveaway that's like $500. No way. I had a broken air conditioner. I didn't have $500, but I had $119, which is what the giveaway I did. I gave away 5 paperbacks. And the thing is though that like the book has to be up on Amazon before you can run the giveaway. And so I gave away the paperback, and in 4 days, because of lag time and I didn't know what I was doing, it was only up 4 days. I had 1,600 people that had marked the book to be read. 1,600 people that did not read my book got an email saying my book was coming out. It's huge. I mean, that's worth $119. And then I did it U.S. only. So when I mailed them the paperback, it's media mail. It's $6. So it doesn't cost you anything except for the $119, which is big. That's a big thing. But if you did it, like they'll run it for as long. I think you can tell them how long. But if I had gotten it, if I'd known, because I didn't really know about it, if I'd known, I could have done the 2-week and then had it, for 2 weeks. Well, at the end of the 2 weeks that I did run it, I had 2,500 people that had signed up. So they had marked my book to be read. So it's powerful. It's powerful because they're readers. They're on there to find books. And what you want to do is you want to interact as a reader, not a writer. Hardly ever. You can also go on Goodreads. This is another thing you can do. When you have a book, you can go in and they encourage this. Mark your 5-star reviews. You like them and you comment on them. Thanks for the review. I'm so glad you liked the book. Just something short and simple. But every time you do that, it throws it into the news feed and people see your book.
What do you write about the 1-star review?
I don't write a thing. And that I was going to say, this is only on Goodreads and it is only for 5-star reviews. Do not respond to a review that in any sort of negative way. Ever. Because
it's out there.
Yes, and you will never win. Yeah. You will never win. There is no way to look good in that situation. There's just no way. Yes.
So you were starting off more as just e-reading, and you're doing this good book part for a paperback.
But you can do it for an ebook too.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, for the paperback then, who published that for you?
KDP, because I put it in KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and they will do your paperbacks. You just have to load the file. It's really quite simple. It takes a while, but it's very simple. If you once you go onto your KDP dashboard, you can just load everything up on that.
How does Goodreads, you pay them $120, they're going to give away 4 or 5 copies of your book, say it's an ebook. How do they?
I had the books. If it's an ebook, they buy the ebooks.
How do they know who to give it to?
Because they run Goodreads. They run the giveaway. They draw the winners, and if it's an ebook, they purchase the ebooks and send them out. Send it to the winners.
Okay, but and the people who sign up for the giveaway go on to your newsletter.
No.
They
just mark my book to be read.
Okay.
So yeah.
You're not going shipping anything out?
With the paperback I did. But I already had the paperbacks. As soon as I put that up, I ordered 10 copies or something like that. So I had them. I had them to ship. So once they sent me the names of the winners and their addresses, I sent them out.
Do you think it's a good, for example, for me doing like the $120 thing with them for ebooks but they have to be up on Amazon before I can do it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have to be up. Well, yeah, it's got to be live.
You buy your books, the paperback books full price, or you offer discount?
I do, for me, when I purchase them on Kindle, they give you a little bit of a discount as an author.
But you don't do credit for that in all sales, but if you buy them.
I don't buy them. I don't care about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care about the paperbacks. I don't care about that. Sometimes I will do ebooks. Sometimes I'll go in and buy 10 ebooks, and that's 10 sales that are credited to me, and I'll give those away. But for paperbacks, I don't care because paperbacks don't affect your rank.
Okay.
They don't affect your rank. So, yes.
I just wanted to see if I had the timeline
Yep.
right here. So you put your order up on you put your book up on pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have your paperback up at this point for reviews?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, so the paperback is up, you put your ebook up for pre-order.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Ebook went up for pre-order, then a week before the launch, I put the paperback up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so when did you do the Goodreads thing?
Well, I started trying to do it the week as soon as I put the paperback up.
Oh, okay.
But there were a few things I didn't understand, and so it took like I figured it out on Friday, but then it didn't go live until Monday, and so I was like, well, that's 4 days.
So in your opinion, it's good to put the pre-order and then the paperback up for sale like a week before?
Or
people launch?
if I was going to do a giveaway, I would do 2 weeks before.
Okay, thank
I would do 2 weeks before. But again, I was working on the fly. There was a lot I didn't know until then. I sent the email to my ARC team, and then I did the Book Sprout thing. I put the paperback up a week before. I told you that. I did the comments and the likes on the thing. Okay, I paid $25 for a BookBub pre-order email. I think it was worth the $25. It goes out like BookBub. People will follow you on BookBub, and then, like I said, when the book goes live, they get an email. Well, they will send out an email to your followers for a pre-order as well. I think it's hard to tell, but for $25, I kind of felt like it was worth giving it a try. Let me go here. And I ran some low spend Facebook ads, $10 a day, to my pre-order. I don't know. I don't know that I would do that again because most of my readers are KDP, they're Kindle Unlimited readers. So they're not going to pre-order the book. They're going to wait till it goes live and then they're going to borrow the book. But, I did have 400 pre-orders, so somebody was buying it. I did try to run those ads to traditionally published authors on Facebook. You can pick authors, and I tried to run them to traditionally published authors because those authors' audiences are used to paying for books, and so that I think they helped. I think I could have gotten away with doing less, but it didn't hurt me, so I wasn't too worried about it. Yes.
So you went on the traditional office Facebook page?
No, when you run Facebook ads, you can choose your audience. And so I chose, like for me, I chose Jill Shalvis and Susan Elizabeth Phillips. And, I think there were like 9 of them. They're traditional authors who are, whose readers are probably more than likely they're used to paying for books because they're not in Kindle Unlimited. They're traditionally published authors. Their ebooks are going to be more than mine are because traditional publishers raise the price of their ebooks. They're fairly high. Like my ebooks are $4.99, but theirs are $9.99, $12.99 actually, a couple of them. So they're used to paying for books. So it was, and that's what you want. You want people to pay for the book. We want them to pre-order and pay for the book. Yeah.
So to clarify, you're not going to go lambast somebody else's Facebook page, but when you go in to make the ad, it'll ask you for keywords, and you can use other authors as your keywords.
That's an AMS. That is an Amazon market. That's okay. That's an AMS ad, and you can do that. You can we're not going to get into ads because they're very confusing. But AMS ads you run off of Amazon's platform. So on on the product page you got the book, you got your also boughts, and then below that there's another line of books. Those are ads. They're called sponsored product ads, and so that you can use that.
And Facebook is demographics, right?
Facebook is different demographics, or there are some authors, not all authors. Like they kind of stopped making some authors, like the big authors in my category, you really can't target anymore. But you can target by person. I can target my Facebook page and then do a lookalike audience to my Facebook page. I mean, there are several things, but that's like a whole class, and and it's pretty confusing. So then what I did for the first 3 days of launch, this is big. This was a really big home run. I asked 11 of my author friends who write what I write. Their audiences are perfect audiences for mine. I asked them if they would post a giveaway. It's always more powerful when the author posts in their own group about something. And so I asked if they would post a giveaway, and I did a $15 Amazon gift card giveaway. And all they had to do was like and share. Well, you got to be careful, but I said comment, like, and I'd love it if you showed it some love or something like that. You can't really say share my post. So, but it was very simple. I typed everything up. All the author had to do was copy and paste and put it in their group.
I'm not following, you did a $15
Yeah.
giveaway in each of the.
Yeah, in each of the groups. That's what it looked like. So that was the graphic, and then it said, Jami's got this cool book and blah, blah, blah. But I wrote it all. And all they did, and actually 10 of them shared it themselves, and one of them was she was out of town or something. She's like, just jump in and share it. That group got the least number of likes and share, and comments, because she wasn't the one that shared it. It's just more powerful when it comes from the author. So anyway, that was the graphic that I did. Other author friends shared my release. So this is another thing, and it goes back to the Smarter Artist Summit and the other conferences. I'm pretty much a conference whore. So I go everywhere. I love them.
Are you going to the 20 to 50K?
I'm speaking at the 20 to 50K. Yeah. But I don't. Wait, let me go this way. Oh, wait. Sorry. This?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've met authors. Like, I'm an extrovert. So in some ways, it is easier for me to meet people. But not always. I mean, I'm not like a total extrovert. I'm a little bit of a introvert too. And I'm also human. I mean, I'm as intimidated as the next person. And so it's hard sometimes, but the big thing, you don't go up to people to get to know them and then immediately ask them for something. I mean, you just try to be a good community, member. And for a long time, all I could really do was like share their post. I mean, I didn't have any clout. I had an 1,100 person or 1,200 person newsletter list, which is nothing to sneeze at, but these people have 10,000 people on their list. And so, it's like, I have 900 people in my group. They've got 5,000 in their group. But you just be a good community member, and you develop relationships like you would in real life, even though you're online, and you give as much as you ask for. And so I had shared all these people. I had done things for all these people. I didn't think I was going to need them. I didn't really think I was going to need their help. I had $5,000, but turns out I really did. So, they all shared, which was really, really kind and really super helpful. Because again, when an author shares in their group, it's social proof, that their readers trust them, and so they will get the book a lot of the time. I email my list, and so I have my email list. My email list now is 5,000. It's around 5,500 people. It was like up to 8,000, and I got rid of a bunch of people that were dead weight. So now I'm back down to 5,500. And what I do with that is I divide them up. Like the first day, 1,000 of them get the email. The second day, 2,000 of them get the email. The third day, 3,000 of them get the email, because I want to spread out those. I want to spread out those buys, and I want to increase in my sales. That's kind of a big deal with rank, and especially in romance. I mean, a lot of what I'm telling y'all may not apply, but I want to tell you because there may be some things you can take from romance, because romance is always ahead of the game, that you can apply to your thing, and nobody else is doing it. And so you're like, oh, cool, I get to do, But if you can increase your sales incrementally, like 20% a day, it really helps with rank. It helps keep your rank where, if you rank low, it helps keep it low. When I say low, I mean close to 1 and not low, close to 1 million. Or it can help you drop, like in the good way, in rank, if you're increasing your sales every day over a week period of time, so a 7-day period of time. So that's what I did. And on the first day, without any ads or anything, I launched to 350 in the store. There was no ads, no nothing. That was just social media, my group, my email. Actually, yes, that was my email, but other people had put me out in their email as well. The next day I started running ads, and I got down to 298 in the store. So I was very, very, it was so cool. It was so cool because I had goals. I had like my realistic goal. And my realistic goal was just, I just wanted to do what I did last time. So 350 or, somewhere around there. My oh shit goal would be, anything above 1,000 I would probably have not been very happy about. And then my stretch goal was 100, top 100. So I was totally fine with not hitting top 100. 298 is amazing, and I really did celebrate it. My husband was very proud of me because I'm a goalpost mover. So, I hit this goal and then I'll go, oh, but, yeah. And he's like, you're driving me crazy. So I did celebrate, and so that was a really good thing. And then I also did, this cost me $195. I cannot tell you that it was 100% worth the money, but I did a Give Me Books release blitz. Give Me Books is a romance blog. And so they're a romance PR company, and they send your book out to bloggers. I got a lot of exposure that I wouldn't have gotten. And so these kind of things are hard. It's hard to measure ROI on those because it's sort of an over a period of time thing, because what you're doing is you're developing relationships, you're planting seeds. Yeah. I mean, it's exposure. $195 is a lot of money, though. And so it was kind of hard for me to go, can't really measure this. Like, I don't like this. But a friend of mine who does them very regularly, this was the first time I'd done it, she really encouraged me that, your people are seeing your book that have never seen your book before. And because my books are so well branded, they all look alike. Like if somebody happened to pick up Rockstar, the first book, and liked it, but didn't really move on, but then they see my book, another book somewhere else, they will know, oh, wait, I read one of these and I really liked it. And so they'll go back and get it. So that's the important thing about branding too, is, it's just you want readers to be able to find you and to recognize you. And that's huge, yes.
Is that branding because it's in a series?
It's branding in a series. But if you'll notice, so this is my one of the 10-day with the excerpts. This is all branded exactly like my stuff.
What are Goodreads links and stuff on there? Is this what you have Goodreads and BookBub links on these graphics?
No, yeah, they were in the post. They weren't on the graphics, but they were in the post. And then this was the one I did for when it went live. It was now live. But yeah, branding is because it's in a series, but it's also you're branding your like like my next book, I'm working on, my cover artist is working on the cover now, and I'm considering putting a Jami Albright novel on it because it's not part of a series, it's a standalone, and my name does have some recognition now. It's not like I really say this humbly, but because of the people I've been able to get to know, my name is recognizable. People don't know who I am, but they know my name. And so because of that, also because, you know, I write Small Town Texas, I talk like a hick. I mean, people just seem to know that. And so because of that, I'm thinking of doing that because of brand recognition. But this book also, if you looked at it, if you looked at this cover, this new cover, even though it doesn't look like the other covers, you would know it's one of my covers. I mean, you just would. Yes.
I have a question about the graphics.
Yes.
Sarah has put together with Canva and stuff.
Yep, that's what these were on.
And I give her some of the quotes because I got quotes from Jane Ann Krantz
Yeah.
and Christy Craig Colleen, and so she's been putting together graphics for me that I've been posting on Facebook. And I had read something from RWA National about, you know, you start a couple weeks out, you start posting the graphics, you know, post on social media every day. So I started doing that, and then I had a couple author friends who emailed me and said, you might want to back off on the post because now when I see one of your posts that says pre-order, I just skip right past it because I'm sick of it. And
No.
it's like,
Well, they're not your readers.
okay, they're my friends.
Yeah, they're not your readers. Don't, just ignore them. That's stupid.
It's okay to keep
That's
posting.
stupid.
So I should go ahead and keep posting them
Yes,
every day?
yes.
They're not the same graphic every day
Yeah,
because.
no, you no.
Okay.
Yeah, you keep
Okay.
posting that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Be bold.
Did not. You
Fly your freak frost.
That's the
Yes.
Facebook thing. I said to do it on.
She said.
Sidebar for the five, but I have another question. Y'all can take it outside, there's the door. Because this is, and I know that everybody in here has a series, but just because eventually we may have something, you know, that's associated or related to another book that we've written, did you do anything with your previous books in order to try to sell this one?
Yes, in the back matter of my books, all had this link. Well, actually, that's not true. First, I went back through and redid all the back matter because I wanted to make sure in the back of book 1, it led you straight to book 2. And that there wasn't any, like, in a couple of them I had, would you consider leaving a review before I had the link to the next book, or the freebie. Oh, no, that's what I did. Sorry. Ooh, it's getting late. Okay, so in the back of my book, I had the freebie, you know, the cookie. But I took that and I moved it to the end because what I did was I put the first chapter of the next book. So I was like, do you want more Brides on the Run? Continue reading? Heck no. Take me straight to the book. Here's the link. You know, and that's just what it said. And so but then at the end of the first chapter, I have the link to the book. So I've got the link to the second book before the excerpt, and I have a link to the second book at the end of the excerpt. Because I want them to read through. Same thing with the third book. You know, at the end of the second book, I moved it. I had the first chapter up, and then with the third book, I had the first chapter of this book up. No, just on ebook. I just did it on ebook because, well, actually, that's not true. It is in the back of the paperbacks, but the links aren't live. But they could still go to the link if they wanted to. But I did put it in there because I want them to, even if they read the paperback, to know. You can do one chapter, you can do a scene. I wouldn't do more than that. Mostly because of Amazon, you might get in trouble with them. They like you only have 10% of the book in the next chapter. So yes.
To clarify, you didn't change prices on any of the previous books. You didn't do Facebook ads or Amazon ads on the first book.
I did Facebook ads on the first book.
I mean, like at an increased rate for the launch of the fourth. So I know you do ads all the time.
I didn't. No, I didn't. In fact, I probably did reduce my spend on, because at that time I was just, because I have a high read-through rate from book 1 to book 2, and then it's even higher from 2 to 3. But I was only advertising book one, so I did reduce because, you know, again, money. And I wanted all the money going to the new book. Yep.
So I'm kind of interested. A lot of what you're saying, I think, will apply to my genre. Put it
Right.
that way. But you haven't mentioned any of what I think of as kind of traditional thing, like a book launch party at a bookstore or a book launch party. There's a group here of women who hold things in their house.
Right,
and
right.
they prepare.
And all those things you can do. This is going to sound really, really mercenary. I don't do those because there's no ROI on them. There's no return on investment, and I am about the return on investment. But you can totally do that, and those are fun. But you're not going to make any money off of them. And the most people that are going to come, the people that are going to come are your family and friends who are going to buy the book anyway. But you may not want them to buy the book because they don't read in your genre. But if you had paperbacks, you could sell those, and that's always good. A friend of mine did that.
There's this group of women, 2 women I think, but it's a book signing thing. I mean, theoretically, if you go, you're kind of supposed to buy the book.
Yeah, yeah, and those are fun. Those are really fun. But I've never even done I've never done a book signing. Not even the really big ones. I went to a really big one and helped a friend of mine, but I
You go
just.
speak at conferences because you mentioned you're doing that. Do you take copies of your book with you?
Because it's authors, they don't care. They don't care about my book. They want to know what I know about that book, and how to market that book. But no, I don't. And I know that sounds terrible, and some of that is because I indie publish, and I think a lot of indie publishers. We want to make money. I mean, we want to make money with our books, and so we don't really. I only have so much time, you know, and I don't write fast. I mean, as you saw, there was a whole year between one book and two, and for a self-published author, that's like death. Like most people cannot maintain. I'm just lucky that I have friends who are really good at Facebook ads, and they taught me how to do it. But yeah, so I wouldn't do that. Press releases, you can do those too, but those are pretty outdated, and most people, you know, you get probably more mileage with Facebook, you know, just having a Facebook group. I would really like for you guys to do a nonfiction. I would start yesterday, creating a Facebook group, creating a community of like-minded people. And you're sharing other people's stuff. You're sharing, you know, you can share. I was just listening to the podcast and they were talking about Brene Brown. But, you know, I mean, you could share a book like that or do a book review in your group, or you could give away a Brene Brown book or something like that. Just something to create community. You really want to, that's so important because those people are going to be the people that go out and tell people about your books. Those are your evangelists. I mean, you know, that's the goal, yes.
Sorry, I'm really.
No, it's fine.
When you said Facebook group, you have a personal page?
I have a personal page and then an author page. Yeah.
You're talking about your author.
Author page. Everything goes on everything goes through the author page, except for the stuff that goes through my group, my private group. And you know, if you write romance, that's something you should start that as soon as you put your book out. I didn't, and that's one of the mistakes that I made.
So I write young adult, and I notice that most of my readers are Instagram, and
Oh yes.
I don't know nothing about Instagram.
Learn.
I'm really good with Facebook.
Yeah.
So
Well, and this is the thing. This is the thing about platforms like Facebook and Instagram. You don't have to be on them all. Pick one. Pick two. But you need to go where your readers are. If your readers are on Instagram, then there are a lot of like really low cost or free little mini webinars and stuff that you can do to learn how to do Instagram stuff. Because if that's where your readers are, that's where you need to go. I think you're right. I mean, I think you're right. Young adult are a lot like that. I mean, mine are, thank God, on Facebook because I'm terrible on Instagram. But
What's your Facebook page called?
it's Jami Albright. Jami Albright, author, yeah.
The thing I learned
No,
about, when I was working on different things, research, I learned to use YouTube.
Yeah.
If you
YouTube.
want to learn how to do anything, there's a video on YouTube.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And you
just
can
type
pop.
in how to, whatever the question is, in their little search window.
I do that all the
There'll
time.
be 5 or 6 really good videos. You gotta be selective because not all of them are helpful.
Yeah.
You know, but I learned a lot from YouTube.
And a lot of the things that I've talked about that I saw your eyes glaze over a little bit, you can just put it in YouTube and it literally she's right. You can learn to do just about, I think you can learn to do open heart surgery on YouTube.
I think so.
It's just,
You can actually go to YouTube and learn how to use YouTube on YouTube.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I said that for a second, because we're getting past 9 o'clock. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that if there's any more content.
No, that was it. That was it.
Oh, really? Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know it was a lot.
Jamie, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Flash the box for yourself. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions? I'm so sorry to interrupt the question line.
Yes.
Good question. When you were writing your first book, how far back from the time that it was done did you really look into marketing?
It was done, and then I spent that whole year, and I listened to podcasts. That's really where I got my education, was podcast, just marketing, book marketing podcasts. Actually, I'm about to start one with a friend of mine. Well, it's not marketing; it's actually it's a writing podcast, but it's what I wish I'd known for authors. So it's like author mistake, like not starting a Facebook group, and and how you can take mistakes and make them better, or the mistakes you wish you hadn't made, but you learned from them and you did something better from that. But yeah, probably around November. Yeah, I know. My friend Sarah Rosetta and I are going to do it. She writes cozies. Yeah, but I mean, it's not really marketing because there are just a ton of marketing podcasts, and on top of that, everything changes so fast. But just take one thing. Like, I gave you a bunch of stuff, but I really just started with one thing. I started with the newsletter. That was it. Like, I knew I had to grow that. I don't know what I would have done if that preview promo had not come up, because I couldn't sit down and write a short story or a novella. That's just not in my brain. Like, I was already writing another book, and I just couldn't do that. But I wrote book 1 and book 2 at 4:30 in the morning for 2 years, 3 years, whatever, because that I was working full time. I mean, so you just, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to sell plasma? Do you want it? I mean, and I still market my books really heavily. I mean, I advertise very heavily, and a lot of it is more than some people would do, but I'm happy. I mean, it's 35 to 40% on ads that I spend, but I have a goal. My goal is to, I don't want to just, I mean, you got to know why you're doing it, and why, like for me, y'all are just going to think she is the money hungriest bitch I've ever seen, but I'm really not. But I'm 56 years old. I mean, how many good years do I really have left? And so it's, no offense, sorry.
About 50.
Well, if you read his book,
I haven't read it, and I'm going to, because it sounds like you did a lot of things right without knowing.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
I've
But
gone to a mastermind on becoming a best-selling author.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good input.
that's
But a
awesome.
lot of it happened literally within about 2 months.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And I did that number 1 literally it just kind of happened.
That's so fantastic. Yeah, but so because of that, I do market heavily, and because I'm a hungry new author, and I want my name to be recognizable. I want to make money, and I want to make enough to replace my husband's salary. That I don't make any apologies for that.
A hungry new author walks into a bar.
Yes, exactly. Did you see that? That's how the book starts. A bride walks into a bar. I wrote that book because I wanted to write a book that started with a bride walks into a bar.
was she married beforehand? Or?
No.
Okay.
No. Yes.
I was wondering, before you published, did you start like Jami Albright LLC, like
No, I haven't done that. Even now, we have not done that. Our accountant really has advised us against that right now because an LLC really just kind of protects you from a libel suit, and unless Kathy Hedrick realizes that I was talking about her in my first book about the homecoming queen that gave away cupcakes to win and I don't mean cupcakes, to win the crown, I'm not going to get sued, you know. But she might figure it out. But
So
yeah.
when you publish, you just publish under just your personal name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think technically when you start making money, you're considered like a single operator or
Yeah.
something in tax laws.
Yeah,
So
in
you
tax
don't have
laws.
to have- You don't have to do anything extra.
Yeah, I mean, like I even wanted to get, I wanted to get, to run a certain kind of Amazon ad, you need a tax ID number. And I told my husband I need to do that. And he was like, well, let me talk to our accountant. And the accountant said, I wouldn't do it. You can get an EI number.
Yeah.
Use that. That will work as well. But yeah, I mean, he's just like, because of where we're at, he just was like, I wouldn't do it. So.
You just do a PBA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doing business as.
Yeah. Yes. What were you gonna say?
I have an LLC,
Uh-huh.
but my CPA and lawyer
Uh-huh.
told me because of what I'm writing.
Yes.
And because
That's
I'm
different.
coaching,
Yes.
Yeah, liability.
Yes.
liability
Yeah.
is just to protect
Right.
myself.
Also, I do coach. I'm just throwing that out there. I do coach. Yes, I do. No, I do.
Where can we find your coaching?
At the bottom of
In
this,
between the two goals.
I have my contact information, and so you can just email me. But yeah, I mean, like, I'll do I'll help you with launch plans. I'll look at your product page and tell you. I'll give you an honest answer.
A ballpark price per hour?
I do just basic coaching. It's $100 an hour. If we're going to do ads, it's $300 an hour. But I give you follow-ups on those because I'm going to
Yeah, 'cause
watch your
those
ads.
things are scary.
Yeah, I didn't run Facebook ads for a year because I was scared of them, and I was advertising on Amazon, but I didn't run them until I really felt like I knew what I was doing. So, but yeah, so it is. You know, it's tricky. It's a tricky business if you're gonna write nonfiction. Yeah, probably having an LLC is, you know, if you're giving it, because you're giving advice, you know, and in some areas, and some people could misconstrue, yeah, and you know, nobody's gonna. I mean,
If a traditional came to you and said, "Hey, I would like to pick you up," would you do
they
it?
can't afford me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they cannot afford me because right now they're cutting mid-list authors, which is what I am based on what I make, and let's say they offered me a $5,000 advance. I make more than that in a month. I mean, not every month, but most months I make more than $5,000 a month. So they can't afford me. And the only publisher I would go with would be an Amazon publisher, an Amazon imprint like Montlake or Lake Union. And I would only do that for strategic purposes, for exposure, because if you look at the top 10 in almost every category, it is a Montlake or it is a Lake Union or what's that? The thriller one, something 57. I can't think. Anyway.
This is for your specific.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
your genre.
Yeah.
For mine, it's like Tor. And
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just talking about for Amazon.
Yeah,
They have an
okay.
imprint for everything, and so because of that, their imprints, they get exposure. Of course, class action lawsuit may be coming because of it, but right now, no. And so I would consider it just for exposure, but I would not give them a series.
But it's also a lot more high pressure, because I've known some
Yes,
authors
yes,
who
it's-
written for them, and because they couldn't
Yeah.
bring in enough money or sell enough issues, that's it, they were gone.
Yeah.
You know, and if they say they want X number of books,
That-
you better give them X number
Yeah,
of books.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
so I
not
wouldn't
very-
I would do a short, if I did something for, I mean, they are not knocking at my door, let's just say that. But because while I do really well, I'm not doing the numbers that the people getting those
New York
contracts are
Times
doing. Yeah.
bestseller buy.
Yeah, well, and I can't do that because I'm in Kindle Unlimited. So to get to get USA Today, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, you have to be on all the platforms because you have to sell so many on all the platforms. Yes. Yes.
The question I was asking, how do you, choosing the genre, or I guess,
Genre.
choosing your genre,
Uh-huh.
making sure that you're in the right genre,
Yeah.
because it can go so many ways.
Yes. Yeah.
This that I'm
And-
writing and trying to make sure that I'm in the right.
Right, and this would be my, like when somebody says, well, it's sort of this and it's sort of that and it's sort of this, I'm just like, oh please, no, because you will never find a home for it. It's got to be more like something like Leslie's is mystery with some romantic suspense, but mostly it's mystery. And if I was Leslie, I would only pretty much in the beginning market that book as a mystery book.
It truly
It's
is
listed
inspirational
on
self-help.
Amazon under police procedural and
Right.
women's sleuth.
Right, because you have to, like, it just needs to fit in
Well,
a
I feel like
in
I
a
have
niche.
but
Yeah.
you know how they tell you on Amazon
Mm-hmm.
to choose different, like
Oh,
particular
yeah.
genres that are not so
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
and it is
But you wanna
inspirational
be-
self-help, but I
yes.
have to make sure it's relatable because I want my readers.
Right, and you can still do inspirational. Here's the thing. A lot of like, I have a couple.
You can be just as raw.
I know a couple of people, and they in the romance genre, and they have bestsellers in a category, but and they write rock star books, but their category is like rock musicians. Well, that's a nonfiction category. Of course, they're selling 500 books a day. They're gonna hit number one in that category. But who's searching that for them? But here's the deal: they don't, because they are selling so many books, and because people do know who they are. They don't have to have that searchability, but having that orange tag triggers something with Amazon, and Amazon will show you more when you have the orange tag, when you have a bestseller tag.
Searching, I don't think knows my name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you want to be really careful. So there are categories that are like self-help, inspirational, self-help, Christian, whatever. I know I've seen them. Yeah. So you just want to be deliberate, I think. And even when you're writing your books need to be deliberate. I mean, like I'm all for I'm all for the passion project. I'm all for writing a steampunk military.
Actually sells.
I know, steampunk military sci-fi time travel mashup. I'm all for
Teaches
it.
you how to cook.
Yes, but you're going to have a hard time
Real
selling.
recipes.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time selling that book if you don't already have a built-in audience,
Yeah.
because you can't get that book in front of an audience. And the worst thing anybody can say to me when they tell me about their book is, well, it's not like anything you've ever read. And I'm like, oh, God bless you. God bless you, because you're going to have a real hard time selling that book. Because nobody knows how to sell a book like that. A traditional publisher is not going to take it because they don't have an audience for it.
It's not like anybody,
Anything
anybody
Right.
writes.
You can't sell it because there's not a category to stick you in on Amazon. So you just want to be mindful and write the passion project. Do it. Write that book. But know that book is going to be hard to sell. Write something else that's a little more niche-y, that fits into a category a little bit better.
Like the Martian cookbook.
Yes, something like that.
And do you do reviews
Oh, yes.
for books? Like, not reviews. Do you do critiques on?
I don't, yeah.
Jami, thank you so much.
Sorry, for the drive, thank you.
Yes,
So can you, I published
thank you.
Amazon.
Oops.
I'd like to pull it out in a thing.
I did that. It's me.
Apologies.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead. See you.
You publish on Amazon also, Kindle, is this Spark, Lightning Spark?
Yes.
You could do all of that.
If you are in Kindle Select, KDP Select. Oh no.
I'm just on KDP.
Oh yeah, you can publish everywhere. You can publish on Barnes and Noble. You can publish on Kobo. You can publish on Nook. Oh, Barnes and Noble is Nook, and Ingram Spark. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just gonna suggest that you let the people that came in late just introduce themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Lisa?
Hi, Lisa. What do you write? And you write young adult?
It's interesting because this story is a young adult story, but what I really like to write is a grown-up story.
Yeah.
But this is a passion project, but I wanted to sell, so that's why I came here.
Yeah, yeah. You wanted to sell. It's easier to sell more than, like, it's harder to sell a book when it's just one book. Like, I mean, I made money from the beginning, and I've never had a month that I didn't at least double my money. But I made a lot less money when I only had the one book. Yeah, so it's a lot harder to make money on one book. So just know that. I mean, if it's your passion project, write it and write a second one. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah, and then
But young adult is hard to write.
Yeah.
For me.
yeah, it is hard. It's hard.
Did you wait until you had your second book done to put up the first one, or did you go ahead and do the first one and then
I did the first one.
you took another year?
No, it's 6 months. The book was written. It just needed to be. I needed to revise it, and it needed to be edited. But I got a little caught up in doing well, and everybody emails you and wants to know, and I was like, oh my gosh, people are asking me my opinion, and I don't need to write. Yeah, I got a little distracted. So yeah, that's why it took, because it shouldn't have taken long. It should have been out in 3 months. And then the third book, so the second book came out. It did really, really well. I was making 5 times what I was making at it was a part-time job, but it was a good part-time job that I'd been at it a long time at a hospital. And so, and I go to this conference, 20 Books to 50K, and I went to the conference the week after that book came out. While I was at the conference, I had 2 books in the top 1,000. Like, it was a good day. And then it never happened, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so everybody's like, when are you going to quit your job? When are you going to quit your job? And I'm like, I'm not going to quit my job. And the inside, I'm thinking, oh, hell yeah, I'm quitting my job. And but I had to talk to my husband. So I go home, I talk to my husband, and he is like, because we don't get paid for 2 months. It's like, and it was the 1st of December. And so he said, well, why don't we wait until the 1st of January, you give them a month's notice, then by the end of January, we get your check, and we're in good shape, yeah. And I was like, that is a great plan. We'll do that. So I go to work. This literally happened. Like, I go to work the next week, and my boss, who I just found out was murdered recently, which is horrible, and I feel terrible about this story, but I didn't really know her very well. She had just I had her job, so I knew what her job was. And she called me and wanted me to do something that wasn't my job and was going to make me stay late. And I was like, I can't. I've got plans, because I was part-time. I got off at a certain time. And she started yelling at me. And I was like, oh, honey. You can just take this as my notice. I can give you 2 weeks, or I can give you a month. And inside I'm praying, say a month, say a month, say a month. And she was like, I want 2 weeks. And I went, okay. And like for a second, I almost went back. I mean, I thought I'd go back in and go, just kidding. But I didn't. And so I went back to my office, and I sat there for a minute. I pulled out my phone. I called my husband. I was like, funny story. And he was like, oh, well, it's going to be an interesting 2 months. Because, I was only getting paid for 1 book. But I'm advertising 2 books. So I had to pull back on my advertising a little bit and stuff. Yeah, it was kind of tricky. But
most of that advertising on Facebook or all?
that was all Amazon ads. For the first year, I only did Amazon ads. But the whole point is that I came home, I'm writing, I gotta write, it's my job, I gotta write. I didn't go anywhere, I didn't do anything, I wrote. And 2 months later, I'm sprawled in the living room floor watching the ceiling fan rotate, telling my story to my dog, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. So I wrote 50,000 words of a book that I had to trash because it wasn't good. It wasn't funny. It was depressing. And I write romantic comedy. I mean, it's like, because I was so depressed. I had to start. That's why it took a year. It would have only taken 9 months, but it took a year.
So it was a year between books 2 and 3?
Year between books 2 and 3. I kept my income exactly the same for a year, in between those books.
My deadline for book 2 is January.
Uh-huh.
And the only place I saw it was in the publisher's marketplace
Uh-huh.
notice, but it says book 2 would be released
Yeah.
If I get it in faster, I might be able to get it out.
Yeah, they're usually not, I mean, they usually are like,
Well, but see, this is a new line with 2 liters, 2 lines.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They only have a few options for it, so I don't think they're booked that long in advance, but I'm just kind of wondering if a year in between is gonna, like.
it's hard. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard, but
So, I mean, we're comparing, it's like, I think
Yeah.
I have maybe 15, 20 at most pre-orders.
pre-orders, yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, it's hard.
I know.
It's hard, it's exposure. Yeah.
It's 9:30ish, a little after. I'm gonna go ahead and say let's clap one more time for Jami